I did. One of the other big reasons for running was that I met so many fine people from the city who lived at Lakeshore Dunes, their friends, their family members. And you spend time with that many people, you talk, you get to know one another, you get to know your neighbors. I bought a house about less than a mile from the property. I felt very comfortable here and felt that it was really a place I wanted to settle in it and stay. And even after the job, I was no longer commuting to Itasca, which was horrendous. I didn't want to fight that kind of corporate world anymore or be fighting in that corporate world. And I really said, possibly I can bring something to bear. And I do. I really do care about the people.
Exactly, and that's why you decided to run. You know,
Absolutely.
you wouldn't run if you didn't care about the people. And with that saying, how many terms have you served as city council?
I've served 3 terms.
And you are looking for
a 4th term.
For a 4th term. And what we have done, we did something special with the show. We reached out to our Facebook audience, and we have asked them to send in messages in the constituents of the 1st District. And they're sending in many messages, but we're not going to answer those mass messages today due to time-wise, but we will ask 3 questions. One question comes from the Etna area of the 1st District, where in the 1st District, I'll leave their name out as respectful to them, and they want to know, and I quote, in the 1st District is the East Side, Emerson area, Etna, Glen Ryan, then your Miller community. This individual feels that in the Etna area that there's no participation of the 1st District Councilwoman. They're not seeing you or seeing your presence known in the 1st District. The question is, do you care about the Miller area or the 1st District as a whole?
I care about the 1st District as a whole, and always have from day one. One of the things that does concern me is people look at neighborhoods and put dividing lines around neighborhoods or labels. And I don't like to do any of that, because what happens in one neighborhood affects many others, and they're not necessarily even next door. And I've really had a problem, because I've seen that happen here in the city, where we do tend to just put little fences around groups and areas. Actually, I don't manage the city. I don't provide the services. But one of the things that has been near and dear to my heart, because it was important at Lakeshore Dunes when I was managing there, is public safety. And actually, I have spent a great deal of time in Etna and in Glen Ryan. When I took office, there were 3 drug dealers on one street in Glen Ryan, and I spent a great deal of time there. We had very famous ones over even in the Etna area. And the group of labeled members in Emerson were kind of dwindling down, and I just noticed from drives through the area and spending some time in Emerson, they've started a resurgent again. I have driven the streets, and particular streets. Benton and Cass were 2 of my favorites in the Etna area. And then when some of the houses where there were problems became vacant, I brought it to the attention of the police. We worked fairly closely so that we could both patrol, watch, and see what was going on. Off of 10th Avenue, there's some locations there. And if people let me know where there are issues, I can then kind of focus more so on them. Or things like sewers or trees. And we've got a group of residents on 12th that help take care of a little triangular lawn area. And they do have a sewer problem there, so we have to get GSD back out on that sewer problem. I also drive a different car. And for about a year, and while you may chuckle about it, because people have said, well, we never see you. And I said, in that car? Oh, when did that happen? So I no longer drive a white Jeep. It is a black Jeep. But it makes a difference. It does make a difference. And I do work too. So when I go, it's usually before or after work or on a weekend, coming to or from shopping or areas, unless somebody lets me know that there's an issue.
If voted back in, the second question is, what are your plans to change in the first district? What are some things you want to continue to do in your term as councilwoman of the first district?
Well, we have some opportunities that are going on, and again, what happens in one block does affect what happens 6 blocks away.
Correct.
Right now, I do sit on the advisory board, and also a position will be on the new management board of the Market Park.
Okay.
We received the $28 million to do a renovation of Market Park and Lake Street Beach. Mm-hmm. This is a money generator. It actually is needed just to be able to operate that recreational facilities. And believe me, we have people from all over the city who come and enjoy the beach.
Yeah.
Beachfront area, as well as the events that are going on there. That is a major development that will help, and others are working a little more in the background to develop the corridor and of housing and businesses from Lake Street, and then some housing development on a transit-oriented development using the Miller Station as the station. That will definitely impact Glen Ryan and Etna dramatically. And it'll affect them in a very positive way.
And the third question is, we know you just turned 21 this year. Congratulations.
Yeah, just a couple of months ago.
And so another question is, do you think health-wise that you are capable enough to serve that next term as
Absolutely.
city council person?
I do. In fact, it's frequently when someone will ask that question, I'll be happy to have them spend a day or 2 days with me, whether it's walking, whether it's working in the yard, whether it is consulting with the work I do for the private sector, or even on some of the council issues. I do study, I do read, I do know my ordinances, and I do attempt to stay on top of things as much as possible. I have a unique experience here because I've only been in Gary 20 years, so in many ways, I'm only 20 years old.
Amen.
And because I've met people that I enjoy, I care about very, very much. I don't like bullies of any type,
Correct.
no matter what their age. And I care about our young people, that they have futures. And I also, only being here 20 years makes me very, very young because my ideas are still young. No, I have not seen and done everything that many others have experienced who are my age. On the other hand, I have some maturity and experience that those who have the energy don't have. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
That's cool. So, well, those are the 3 questions from the constituents of the first district. I really thank you guys, those that sent in those questions to the Facebook page. Also, here's some other questions. Out of all the Gary communities, Miller did something that is great. You have opened up a COP office. You can elaborate a little bit about the COP's office.
That's part of the public safety issue, which is very, very dear to me. And we fought to keep it open. It's been staff and volunteers since 1998. If not earlier, but that's when I became more aware of it. It's staffed with volunteers. It is a place to call in and report anything that's going on in your neighborhood, whether it's some hangouts, whether it's some lot of activity. And you say, well, we have the anonymous tip line. We have, let's call dispatch, let's call 911 if a crime is going on. But one of the things that makes our neighborhoods, that will make our neighborhoods, wonderful places to not only live in but to visit as we go across the city is called community communication. And the more people that communicate with one another, and we all work together to solve problems, then we have a very successful city. Right. We are talking to one another. Neighborhood watch programs, in the last 3 years, we have developed neighborhood watch programs, and some of the blocks, they're hard to keep going, but they have to be, because at least if things do quiet down, we know that there's a group in place that'll talk to each other more so. We drive to work, to and from work, to the store. We wave at each other, but we never take the time to walk across and say, hey, how are you doing?
True.
And to stand and spend that 5-10 minutes talking.
Great. And here's one, we do have time for one final question. Lately, buzzing through the news and the media is the talk about Senate Bill 105, where the mayor on our show, he basically said that we will not, and we clearly will not file bankruptcy. As a city councilwoman, you know, you sit on that council and you know what, you know, more about the city, the Senate Bill 105. You can elaborate a little bit on that to get a second side of that story.
And I applaud the city's and the administration's approach to saying we will not go bankrupt, we will not file for bankruptcy, and we are not close. And yes, I do agree that many other cities will be seeing some hardship, further hardship, as they try to bring their budgets in line with the tax caps.
Okay.
And but I do want to see some tighter budgeting. And I think we still, in fact, I know we still have a ways to go. This year, the only reason I supported the budget was because I know that, also the trip down to DUAB was so that we'd have one more year, and I stated this publicly many times, one more year to be able to get our budget process in line with what the income that we can anticipate collecting. Okay. And that we have to do. Senate Bill 105, which right now is locked in committee because we don't have a quorum to take it out and vote one way or the other, is a segue for setting up the state to set up an administrative procedure of handling distressed cities. Okay. Rather than going under bankruptcy in the federal government. Okay. You don't want a federal regulator running your city.
Exactly. Well, Councilwoman Cruces, this is all the time we have for the questions and answers today. We definitely enjoyed you dropping into the living room today.
Well, thank
Welcome
you.
back anytime. Join us in the living room. We're going to have some footage up here and go eat some popcorn or something next time. But we'll be right back with more In Your House with Antoine Clemens.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Bye.
Just like the Air Force Thunderbird pilot I flew with, I have to make split-second decisions as a top fuel driver. Hi, I'm Brandon Bernstein, driver for Kenny Bernstein's 2010 Copart Lucas Oil Top Fuel Dragster. To make it in the NHRA, I've had to work hard, stay focused, and make smart decisions along the way. To reach your goals, you need to think straight, stay on track, and give your very best effort in everything you do. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.